Is Russia now abandoning entire villages to shore up their defense in the south? I'm Paul, U.S. Army combat veteran. It's September 11th, 2023. This is your daily Ukraine update. Let's get into it. Okay, taking a look at the combat map, there's actually no update from yesterday. Those of you that were on the live stream know that there's been some progress here south towards Novoprokopivka, but that's really about it. But when we look over at the combat map, you can see that there are a number of changes. You can see Ukrainian forces actually, this area of contested region is actually wider. You can see the Ukrainian control being much more narrow, especially here near Belohoria. But you can also see that large portions of Verbove are listed as contested, as well as most of Novoprokopivka. And Ukrainian forces, again, trying to range down into the south to create sort of a flank to apply increasing pressure on the defending Russian forces in Novoprokopivka. When we look at Ukrainian armed forces, they're reporting some success near Novomayorsk, which is not really a priority. You can see it's here a ways west of Pavlivka and Volodar. This is where we've seen some action for sure, but it's not clear that this is actually a priority area for Ukrainian forces. Basically, you're asking what are they doing here and what are they going to do here in the long term? And I think more this is a function of the fact that this is probably like a target of opportunity. Russian forces probably have been depleted in this region to shore up the fighting to the west. And so Ukrainian forces in the region probably just said, hey, let's just stage an attack and attempt to seize this town, this village of Novomayorsk, and improve their defensive position, right? As you can see, Ukrainian forces basically on the northern half of this river here, and if they could establish again this village as a strong point, it would enable them to potentially rely less on high numbers of troops to hold this open terrain, and they could instead have a more efficient defense. So that's my thesis on what we're looking at here. When we go over to X, bear in mind, guys, X is usually the most. The reporting we should be the most skeptical of, though. This is Arthur Ray, who's got some updates as of just a few hours ago, as of just 5 hours ago. One is he's reporting, Ukrainian forces advancing somewhat to the south here, even as he's reporting Russian forces continuing to make this sort of counterattack, putting a bulge in Ukrainian lines in this region. But as you can see, this shows that Ukrainians having at least some level of control of this southern second line of defense. And you may notice that even if Russian forces were to advance here, they would be facing down Ukrainian forces from their south, their north, and from their west. So while this counterattack is probably important to disrupting Ukrainian reinforcement efforts in and around Verbove, my suspicion is that we'll have a hard time holding that territory. He also reports that Novoprokopivka, Ukrainian forces continuing to advance to the northeast of the town, as we've talked about. And again, I think this is part of a larger strategy in which they are encircling Novoprokopivka and are going to force the Russian forces in this region to withdraw. Finally, what I thought was most interesting is that it seems as though there's some reporting that Russian armed forces are actually beginning to withdraw entirely from Optina. You can see here where this entire village listed as contested. Just two remaining roads in the southern portion of the village are defended by Russian forces and Ukrainian forces moving into the village itself. So I think this could be a sign that, again, Russian forces are making hard choices about where they do and do not want to continue to fight. And Optina may have simply been seen as too much of a liability, not when there is these large obstacles to the south that can be easily reinforced and turned into a sort of wall type formation where many fewer troops can achieve the same defensive effects. Guys, if you've been on the live stream or on any of my videos, you know Strike Gum. I recently launched it. It is an energy gum with an absolute 90 milligrams of caffeine, 100 milligrams of alpha GPC. 90 milligrams of caffeine, guys, is about on par with a Red Bull or an Amp. And that's in every piece here. So at just $5.99, you can get the equivalent of like 5 energy drinks in just 1 pack of gum. Plus, unlike an energy drink, it's not going to taste incredibly gross. You can keep it in your gym bag. And I know from Afghanistan, drinking warm energy drinks is absolutely punishing. Best of all, 50% of the profits from this first production run, I'm going to donate to charities that support Ukrainian civilians who've been injured or displaced in the conflict. So if you're interested, you can join the hundreds of people who've ordered Strike Gum already, including a bunch who are already reordering. A lot of people purchase a pack, realize that I'm not kidding. It really is the best energy gum on the market, and pick up the tray, right? Of course, if you also are interested in affiliate marketing, you can get a 10% cut of anyone who purchases through your link, even if you don't have a social media following or anything like that. We have an affiliate program you can sign up for. We have a whole Discord. We have tons of assets dedicated to just helping our affiliates do well. And we've had some affiliates earn up to $100 so far. So check it out. You can go to strikegum.com to order some, become an affiliate. Again, check it out, strikegum.com. Okay, taking a look at Institute for the Study of War, they also report some interesting news. First off, that Ukrainian forces are saying that the cold and wet weather will affect combat, but won't halt active combat, right? Unlike the first 18 months of the war. This makes sense, right? Ukrainian forces have had a long time to not just equip themselves, but prepare and learn how to conduct operations in this cold weather. Remember, these guys were trained in like December, January, February, March. So a lot of these formations are trained to fight in cold weather. Even though General Miley is stating that Ukrainian forces have about 30 to 45 days of fighting weather left, I think that's true, right? Seasonal heavy rains and mud slows ground movements from both sides, but low temperatures can also impose logistics challenges. However, I think it's worth noting that first, we're not seeing huge armored advances here. And so I think the more gradual pace of advances will mean that some of these rains and mud just aren't going to have the impact, right? Because you're not expecting 10 or 20 kilometers of movement in a day. You're expecting, 200 meters in a day. And that you can get a tank, you can get artillery, you can get that through heavier mud. Of course, after the hard freeze, right, mechanized maneuver warfare is going to become a lot easier once the ground freezes again. Some Russian forces are also reporting a number of problems on the front line, namely that the Russian counter battery range and accuracy is inferior to Ukrainians, meaning that Ukrainian artillery can pummel Russian positions and Russian positions can't fire back, a tremendous problem for Russian forces. They also lack laser-guided shells, lack UAVs. There's also MLRS systems that are vulnerable to electronic warfare, right? Certainly, Russian forces have a lot of complaints about the way the war is being won or executed. Anyway, that is all I had for you guys. Thank you so much to everybody at combatvetnews.com, especially our Colonel tier members. Right. And thanks to our lieutenant tier members. Again, I couldn't do this without you guys. I appreciate each and every one of you so much. All the members of combatvetnews.com. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Cheers.